Hi everyone, and welcome to Bernitsas Law International Women's Day webinar series. My name is Kitsou, and I'm here with my colleague Lina Mastrogiannopoulou. Last week, we posted a great discussion on the imposter syndrome and the challenges for women in high-achieving professions such as the law. Today, we're taking a slightly different route and look into the implications and effect of new legislation which deals with female representation and expands quotas to unlisted companies.
Thank you, Evie. Recently introduced Law 5178 of 2025, implementing EU directive on improving the gender balance among directors, increases the percentage of women on the board of directors of certain large listed companies from 25 to 33%. It also empowers certain non-listed Sociétés Anonymes and public bodies to extend their statutory provisions on gender representation on their board of directors, similar to the provisions applicable to listed companies. In particular, for listed companies, the new law provides that failure to comply with gender balance obligations constitutes grounds for potential exclusion from public tenders. Evie, what are your thoughts on the provisions of the new law?
I think this new legislation is a great initiative, especially in view of the fact that it concerns large companies with significant turnovers and workforces. On the one hand, I feel it's rather unfortunate that the legislator had to take action, as it just confirms the fact that there has not been sufficient private initiative taken on improving gender balance. It is also clear, however, that at least as far as listed entities are concerned, the legislator is determined to ensure that more women participate at management level in large entities. Also, the 33% quota mentioned in this new law is rather baffling, as it may give the impression that the legislator would not go as far as suggesting a 50% quota, for example, which one could expect if ensuring equality was a purpose of this provision. Another interpretation could also be that the legislator would not suggest a higher quota simply because it is considered that there are not enough women capable or worthy to take up the relevant posts in the boards of these companies. Lina, what is your opinion on quotas? Do you think they work and help break some barriers? Do targets matter at all?
Well, quotas in general give me mixed thoughts and feelings. When I was younger, I used to get very angry with quotas because I thought they devalued women. Now I understand that quotas are necessary to correct the existing gender imbalance in various areas. In Greece, quotas were introduced for the first time in the business sector by Law 4706 of 2020. This law provided that the criteria for the selection of board members must include at least an adequate gender representation of not less than 25% of the total board members. When this quota was introduced, the representation of women on boards of listed companies was only 13%. On introduction of the law, the percentage increased rapidly to 25%, and by December 2023, it had reached 28%. Despite this steady increase, the number of women on boards remained low compared to the European average. According to data from the European Institute for Gender Equality for Greece, the percentage of women to men on the boards of large listed companies is 25 to 75 in favor of men, compared to 33 to 67 in the European Union. So I think, in general, that quotas work. Even if they are imposed as obligations, they motivate women to participate in decision-making positions.
I agree, Lina, but I also think that quotas must be combined with the introduction of long-term policies in education to address social prejudice and to support work-life reconciliation and the equal sharing of care responsibilities in the family and at home. Lina, do you think our legal system allows or pushes for the introduction of quotas?
Equal representation, parité, was introduced in France in 1999 as the most radical measure to promote political equality. Also in Greece, quotas were first implemented in the political arena, and the representation of women in parliament has increased significantly in recent years. It is also interesting that there is a provision in the Greek constitution that dates back to 2001, which not only prohibits any discrimination based on gender, but allows and urges affirmative action measures in favor of women and other groups living under conditions of inequality. It is therefore legitimate to introduce quotas as long as they comply with the principle of proportionality. Also, some court decisions have ruled that quotas are legal despite the restrictions they impose because of their temporary nature. Indeed, in theory, once true equality is established, quotas have no reason to exist. In the case of recent legislation, Evie, I think that the legislator was just realistic and intended to approach European standards. In my opinion, it's becoming increasingly important for companies, whether they're publicly listed or not, to offer a diverse workforce to attract talent and stay competitive. Younger generations seem to care more about equal representation compared to previous ones, and I think that companies should take this into account.
Absolutely, Lina. Equal opportunity is such a key topic, especially around International Women's Day. The legal profession is incredibly demanding, with high stakes transactions and courtroom battles. Have you ever faced any bias in your career? What has your experience been of working in the law?
In general, I can say, Evie, that I have been lucky in my career because I have not been treated differently because of my gender. To some extent, this can be attributed to the fact that there are many women in the legal profession. But when I really think about it more, it has not just been a matter of luck. It is a daily struggle on my part to constantly prove that I don't need to be treated differently and that I can perform on an equal basis with my male colleagues, and in some cases, I would say even better. And the worst thing is that all this struggle is an unconscious one. It has become a behavior pattern and it is exhausting for women, or certainly the ones I have spoken to about this. I want to share a personal example. A few years ago, I had gone to an interview for an opportunity I was very interested in and for which I had all the qualifications. I was successful, but I remember that during the interview, the conversation moved to family and to the fact that I had a small child. I found myself anxiously assuring my interviewers that this will have no effect on my work and that I'm dedicated and hardworking, even going so far as to say that I work day and night and at weekends, in fact, whenever I have to, in order to keep up with my commitments. The interesting thing is that my interviewers did not question my dedication or work ethic, but I felt the need to address any doubts before they were expressed. I can't imagine that it would ever cross the mind of any of my male colleagues who have children to offer such assurances. I must admit, Evie, that when I interviewed to join Bernitsas Law, I was pleasantly surprised by the number of women in our firm, especially in managerial positions. This clearly shows that the firm offers great opportunities, is supportive, and promotes women to senior roles. Personally, I have never felt that I'm treated differently here, and I work with many women who are partners, such as you, Evie. Being a partner in such a demanding field like corporate and M&A must be challenging. I imagine you're often the only woman in meetings and calls. How easy was it for you to reach a leadership position in this environment?
Well, thanks for acknowledging that. As children, we're often told that if you work hard, you'll become successful and you'll achieve your goals. This does not usually work the same for both genders, but I'm grateful for being a member of our firm as I have always felt that my hard work was recognized and rewarded. Also, I feel very blessed to be working with very supportive male colleagues who never made me feel that I was second best. And yes, you are right, I'm often the only woman in meetings, but I try my best to satisfy client expectation and I'm always available to them. Having said that, this effort is not without cost, and the truth is that making myself available in the same manner as my male colleagues feels like a never-ending struggle. I often have the feeling that I'm failing somebody, usually my family. Working in a top-tier law firm is very demanding and pursuing a career in law is not easy. But at the same time, it is a very engaging and rewarding job.
I agree with you, Evie. It is a very stimulating career and very rewarding, but don't you feel that sometimes it is assumed that you have less resilience and stamina because some of your energy goes to your family?
I have never come across a client thinking that way, and I strongly believe that most women are excellent multitaskers despite personal cost, because we just train ourselves this way.
I think sometimes women may appear to be less ambitious and less likely to be aggressive in pursuing promotions and leadership roles, even though I'm aware that the challenges women face in the workplace are often more about external factors rather than a lack of ambition or aggression.
I think generally yes, because I feel most women, at least of my generation, are very conscious of the potential negative effects their promotion or professional success would have to their personal lives and, if they already have families, to their families. They know that the leadership role will not be without personal cost and that they will think twice before jumping into this new adventure. It is also true, though, that women from younger generations are bolder, and I truly admire my younger female colleagues for their hard work and efforts. I also do feel that men are becoming more and more supportive in this respect, maybe because traditional role models are constantly shifting and are being challenged. I think this legislative initiative aims in the right direction, and I will welcome more initiatives like this, both from the private and public sector, so that women are not afraid to pursue their goals and feel ambitious. However, it is not just about legislative change, but also breaking cultural barriers which hold women back, which is part of another discussion.
I think that we agree that women's underrepresentation is not a random event nor the result of a conscious free choice based on equal access opportunities, but the result of socially structured inequality which stems from predefined roles. On this basis, each of us from our own standpoint should advocate for equality and support initiatives such as quotas, which have proven to be effective. I have a lot of faith in the younger generation, which is sensitive to issues of equality, and I hope that soon we will not need quotas.
I hope the same, Lina. But until then, we do have quite a way to go, and these legislative initiatives are necessary. Thank you all for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed this discussion as much as we did. Keep an eye out for our next episode.